We're the two gay reefers.
Hey reefers, Darren here, and today we're going to talk about how to lower your nitrates. Now we've had a huge nitrate problem in our Reefzilla tank, our new custom build, and that's probably my fault. So I'm taking responsibility for this, hence is why I'm doing the video today. When you get a new tank, you need to get a feel for it and feel out how it's going to react. I got a bit cocky. I realized our nitrates were pretty low because it was just a new build, new setup. It'd gone through its tiny little cycle. I thought, we had a big skimmer. I'm gonna start feeding our corals. It's always something I've wanted to do. It's something I believe in. I believe corals should be fed. The only issue was I took it a bit too far. We also had our poor goby Bert. He was looking skinny as well, so I was feeding a little bit extra to try and get him to eat and get him fattened up. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. And as a result, not only did we lose a fish, we also lost our battle with nitrates. So our nitrates went up higher and higher. They pretty much went to the highest color on the Red Sea test kit, which is 50. So I reckon it was over 50 for quite a while. And we tried a few little things. We weren't too serious about trying to combat it. And unfortunately, it stayed there about 2 months. So in that time, we started to lose corals as well. So we lost Helios, we lost a little acro or two, lost Lobos, Cyaneria, things like that. So a lot of LPS. I swear our tank was getting us ready for our new angelfish. So if you haven't heard, we're getting a majestic angel. And as you may or may not know, they do like to snack on the occasional LPS. So I swear Reefzilla was trying to tell us, get rid of them before the angelfish gets here. Our trachea started looking pretty bad as well. Our really nice rainbow trachea. We've got a hole in our leather, things like that. Everything else was looking pretty good on the parameters wise. We had a bit of an up and down with calcium and magnesium, trying to get that balanced in a new system. But we got that under control when we started dosing Aquaforest components 1, 2 and 3. So that sort of leveled that out. And the only thing that was left was the high nitrates and elevated phosphates. Now, we had this problem with the Red Sea. So at the end of the Red Sea's life, we neglected it because we were trying to get Reefzilla up. So this video today is about what we've done to our tank, a few hints and tips that you might be able to use on your tank. Now, every tank is different, so bear that in mind as well. Now, as I said before, I got cocky because we had a big ass skimmer, the Fishies skimmer. The only thing is, I think it was skimming a bit dry. The actual neck was getting filled up with gunk and I wasn't cleaning it as often as I should. The main pump we have is actually a waterfall pump for a pond. It's not actually controllable and it's on full pressure, and we've got as much pressure going to the Bass Sea as possible, and still not quite enough, I don't think, to get it skimming. Well, at this stage, we'd rather a wet skim than a dry skim. So to help combat that, as a temporary measure, we had our Deltec skimmer from the Red Sea. So we've hooked that up as well and had that skimming. So we've been skimming that nice and wet, and just to keep it skimming and keep it going well, we've been cleaning that on a more regular basis, pretty much once a day, and skimming out probably an inch or two of skimmate a day. So that's a good start. So when we were getting Reefzilla ready and building it, we actually had some max spec bio blocks, and we had those in the Red Sea Reefer, and hopefully we were getting those seeded. When we put them in Reefzilla, we put them in the wrong spot and water was just going around them. They're not quite as porous as other biomedia. Don't get me wrong, they do have the surface area and everything like that, but the water tends to prefer to go around them, I think, rather than actually through them. To combat that, the best thing we've done is put them hard up against the baffles, so the water has to go through it to get to the return pump. So the water's actually getting sucked through it now instead of just lazily making its way through, and I think that's helped. We also had some marine pure balls in the sump as well, and we just chucked them in there in a plastic bucket and drilled some holes in the plastic bucket. I don't think they're actually doing much good at the moment. So one of my projects is to actually build a cage for it, and that way I'll have lots of water flow going through that biomedia. With the Illumagic Sump Light that we have, Refugium light, it's actually doing a pretty good job, but it's also causing a bit of algae to grow in the sump. A lot of the tufty algae that's growing in there at the moment actually needs to be removed by hand. So the little clump of Cado that we had in there was actually quite small and tumbling round. I don't think it was actually doing a lot. It was growing a little bit. Wasn't a lot of growth, especially considering the light. So what we've done in this case, we've removed that pump that was tumbling the Cado. So just took that offline for now. We've put in actually double the amount of Cado in there, and we've also started fertilizing it. So we're dosing it with Continuum Basic Cado Grow, and we're hoping that in conjunction with the Refugium light will make that grow nice and thick and actually get a lot more nitrate removing bacteria living in our sump. We've also used a bit of a chemical solution to help lower our nitrates. So we've actually used the Quantum Nitrate Remover. The nitrate remover has actually been doing really well. We've only dosed it for a week or so, about 2 weeks I think, for the bottle. And we were dosing about 20 to 25 ml a night. So daily dosing, basically it's a little bit like vodka dosing, that sort of carbon dosing idea, binds to the nitrates, allows our skimmers to then skim out the nitrates. Another simple thing we've also done is to agitate the surface of the aquarium. So we noticed that, I think with our random flow generators, I'd bumped them sometime and they were sort of pointed down further instead of something actually up at the surface agitating the surface. So the surface was pretty flat for a while, just to introduce more oxygen into the system to help all the beneficial bacteria do their thing and remove the nitrates. That helped. We've done a few big water changes as well. We've been doing weekly water changes, and in that time, 2 weeks apart, we've done 2 300 litre plus water changes as well. Before we did those, we actually tested our natural salt water to make sure it wasn't the cause of the issues either. And it wasn't, thank goodness. Yay! Otherwise, we would be in dire straits putting more nitrate back into the system with our salt water. But thankfully, that wasn't the case, so we were able to do some big water changes. The first one, as you saw in last week's video, was actually carrying 16 drums of salt water upstairs and doing it manually. Our latest one was actually with our new pump from the IBC straight into the tank. And did that make a difference? It was such an easy water change. So I think we realized that the water changes we were doing, we were only doing 100 litre water changes maybe every 2 weeks. Those infrequent water changes just weren't making a dent in the nitrates. So the heavy duty water changes that we've done have actually made a big difference to the tank. So after all this, we've actually made an improvement over the last month. Our nitrates have actually come down to 10. We can actually measure it on the Red Sea test kits, which is wonderful. No more guessing that, oh, is it 20, is it 50? I don't know, it's purple. It's actually measurable now, which is lovely. Gives you a bit of confidence to know that some of the things that you've done in the past have actually worked. Okay, reefers, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I hope we've given you some information that helps you with your nitrate problem if you have one. And as always, be excellent to each other and keep it salty, everyone. Bye for now.